We were at, some of us were at a caregivers support group over at Jordan River. And Laura was there and we were talking about Lynn coming to speak today. And everybody had a lot of nice things to say about Lynn, of course. Lynn holds a master's of science in counseling. Most of her career has been focused on mental health, including counseling management and business development. She currently serves as the Director of Business Development at Unity Psychiatric Care. She serves on the Board of Directors for the Professional Network on Aging, which a lot of us know, as Legislative Chair. She has served as past President for the Creative Aging of the Mid-South, Alzheimer's, and Dementia Services of Memphis, Business and Professional Women of Tennessee, on the board of the Sales Club of Memphis and the Ruth Mackey Cancer Foundation and the Professional Network on Aging. Lynn hosts WYPL, which is a cable talk show, Health Awareness, where she's the recipient, very prestigious award, recipient of the Bob Bernstein Senior Advocacy in 2019. So welcome, Lynn Doyle.
Yeah. Don't drive in.
It's crazy. For all of you who did drive in, I'm so glad you're here. And somebody out there will time me and let me know when 25 minutes is up. I have a tendency to go on and on. Thanks.
We'll give you some warning.
So thank you. Don't like give me the hook or anything. Just wait.
Send Santa.
So today I'm going to talk about something that has no real boundaries. So it was very difficult in trying to prepare to bring something to you that would make sense. But again, the edges are jagged because we're going to talk about navigating the health system. More importantly, for me, the mental health system. But some of what I'm going to say is very important as you navigate any health system. So I'm going to start with the very first thing. How many of you go to the grocery? Maybe you have yours delivered. How many of you make a list before you do either one of those? Why do you make that list? For me, it's because instead of spending $100, I spend $350 because by the time I get there, I look at things that I really think that I need or want. So for me, there has to be a list. For us, as we navigate health systems, there has to be a list. It creates a roadmap for us. None of us ever 100%, I don't think we do, go on a trip. It's an important trip, maybe a business trip, that we don't know where we're going. Okay, we've at least got a GPS to give us instructions. We're not just going to blindly drive around, but that's essentially what people do in a health system. Is they're not prepped because we don't want to prep for those things. I mean, none of us, and talking about mental health, none of us expect to be mentally ill, emotionally compromised, brain compromised, whatever you want to call it. None of us want to do that. None of us plan to do that. So when that happens, whether it's for us or more likely in this room, somebody we're giving care to, and it can be a young person too, not necessarily an older person, we at that point, if we're not prepared, have tendency to make what are called emotionally based decisions. Bad form. Whether you're in a business, whether you're trying to navigate a system, you need a plan. And so you'll hear me say that about 15. So let's talk just a minute about mental health. So mental health is the broadest topic ever. It can go from a slight depression or a little bit of anxiety. We should all be able to relate to that, right? Especially this morning or last evening when we're in the dark and the trees are blowing and we're remembering that our city has been decimated in some areas for a very long time and isn't going to happen again. So when that happens, our level of anxiety raises. Just so back to tell you a story, because the stories are what you'll remember. So last evening, I'm in the midst of doing some work because I had some work that I have to do. I always have to bring some work home. I'm sure most of you do. So in the midst of doing that, I get a telephone call. It's from an admission that I think we're on the way to get. And transport is asking for a form and they don't know what that form means. So I get on the phone to try to take care of that. Meanwhile, I've got the administrator on the phone. My administrator is now on the phone because he's concerned because the phones and the internet are down at work. I'm not really sure what I can do about that. I think he just called me so I would say a quick prayer, which I did, but because there's nothing I can do, you know, my little puppy, he's a year old. He doesn't really like the storms, doesn't understand him, and doesn't understand why the doggy door is not open for him to go out and play. So he's not in a very good mood. He hasn't had his walk because we do a walk every day because I don't want to be out in the storm. Then I get a call from our intake. So I've got these three people going. My husband calls. He's at a party at the museum. He directs the Rock and Soul and Memphis Music Hall of Fame Museum. So he's having a party, not his own party, but somebody else's party that he's helping them with. And he's calling to see if I'm okay. Well, I'm not okay. You know, I got every candle in the house, the lights are going. And if the lights go off just a little bit, my alarm goes off. So then I have to go reset the alarm. I've got these people on the line, and he says, listen, Bennett, who's our son, Bennett's compressor's not working on his air conditioner. Really? Well, I have many more things to worry about, but okay, what can I do? Well, they may have to come spend the night with us. Now, you guys, we used to have a big house, but now we have a little house. And so I'm trying to think, where am I going to put them with a 5-month-old and a 4.5-year-old, and the two of them, and all that's happening. There was a moment that I thought, oh, no, I can't do this. This is stupid. I don't want to talk to you guys. I'm not answering the phone anymore. I'm leaving it alone. Now, I don't usually get like that, but everything within me trips, including the storm and what damage it can do. I'm worried about my mother-in-law. I'm worried about my children. I'm worried about my friends. I'm worried about the folks in Bartlett who have had the hardest time in the world. And it's just, I almost called you Kelly, but so I'm worried about all that. Now, does that mean my mental health's not good? No. It just means I'm having a little break of anxiety right then. We all have it. If you don't, we want to be inside your life, okay? Because everybody has it. It's not a matter of what it is. It's a matter of how you deal with it. Now, mental health, because it is such a difficult field because there's still a stigma to it. We still talk about it in hushed tones. If you've lived, none of you probably lived this long, but if you've lived as long as I have, you look back and you remember when people had cancer. We talked about it in hushed tones. I mean, we'd say, because we felt that if we said it out loud, then it was more significant than it would be if we did it in a hush.
Right.
And it was also something we didn't understand very well. So we didn't know whether we were worried, ashamed, we didn't know. So hush tones, that's the way it is with mental health. It still is. We talk about it in hushed tones. So where do we go from there? Well, what I'm going to do is just very quickly give you some tips on how to deal with it. But before I do that, just in the event that anybody in here is struggling, there are many edges to depression. And what we want to make sure of is, since we all have some anxiety and since we all have some stress, that doesn't somehow turn a bad corner, like where all the trees are down in the city and we're hit with a depression. And it can happen to anyone. So we want to make relatively sure we understand those terms. Okay, it's important. And then we recognize those things in other people. Okay, so I have the opportunity to work with a little 17-bed, all seniors, 55 and older. That really pisses me off. So I said on camera that 55 and older is now a senior. I'm like, no, that cannot be. I think they meant 80 and older, right?
Yes, right,
Yeah.
right.
Maybe even 75 and older,
Yeah.
but not 55 and older.
Cancel that.
But that's what we treat.
Just say no.
And that's right.
Just say no.
So here's the edgy part, the difficult part. There are two people we seek mental health treatment for personally. Ourselves and people we love. That's it. Ourselves and people we love. Unless you're a journeyman like I am with mental health, it's only those two things. If you're looking at it for you, the rules are a little bit different than if you're looking for it for someone you love. When you're looking for it for you, if you've not made a plan, you at best could be confused. At worst, you could be very angry and intolerant, and it makes things worse. But when you're looking for someone you love, you're dealing sometimes, this is what I found anyway, both myself and other people I love, you deal from a point of anger. How did it get this way? It shouldn't have happened like this. My parents didn't deserve this. I don't deserve this. I don't know how to give care long distance or close by. I'm struggling. So we come from a base of emotion. And sometimes when I have lots of time, more than 25 minutes, I take require way more than that. I'll come and talk to you about your base of emotion. And we'll talk about that. But that's sort of mental health, and there are many parts of it. And if you're dealing with it from a caregiver's perspective, here are the things you must know, you have to know, you will fail miserably if you don't know. Know the resources out there. That's why talk shops are important. That's why this organization makes a difference, is you're looking at resources. And resources, hey, how you doing? Resources are power. The more information you know, the more powerful you are, the greater the direction you are. The least you know, the more you will come from a base of emotions, and you will make that kind of decision. So we don't like to think, if we're looking at our parents for a minute, or our older siblings, or maybe our younger siblings, we don't want to think about them being somewhere or having to deal with that, so we postpone. Symptoms will not postpone. They will continue to ramp up, and we're dealing with things that are uncomfortable to deal with. I wish I had a long time to tell you about my mom and some stories there. And some of you in this room have had situations that totally mirror that. It's very frightening. Here are some things you need to know and you need to take with you today. Always 100% keep a list of the medicines of the person you love and have to give care to, along with a dosage. Don't come in and say, well, they take, Aricep. No, we don't need to know that. We need to know what kind of dose it is. Is it a small dose? Is it something we can probably titrate in a different way and help folks? What is it? Same with you. Does somebody in your family know the medicines you're on and the dosage? And would they know it without having to grab all your medicines and throw them in a bag, although that's okay? Would they know where to find your medicines if they did? You guys, for your sake and for the people who may give care to you and for the people you're giving care to, look at a list of medicines and dosage. Okay, that's the first thing. Secondly, know what you're talking about when you're talking about admitting somebody. I'm going to give you a perfect example because I deal with hospitals. Hospitals, God love them. They're so much fun. But they will call and go, we need to admit Mrs. Jones to your facility, to a mental health facility, because she's got to have some mental health treatment. Okay, let's talk about Mrs. Jones for a minute. How long has she been at your hospital? I don't know. well, could you look and maybe tell me, okay, so they look it up, okay, she's been here 2 weeks. Okay, she's been there 2 weeks. What did she come in for? Why is that important? Because I need to know if she's been off the chain psychiatrically and you just stuck her in a room somewhere. What's she in for? Well, she was in for some cardiac distress, but she's okay. What is she doing now that means that she needs for us to be a part of her treatment? And this will be what I get. And are you ready for this? Because this is very important. Well, when she first came in, she was combative. Oh, okay. Is she still combative? Well, not as much, but we're afraid she will be. Oh, no. We don't deal with what you're afraid might happen. We're dealing with what's happening. So if your person, whoever you love, goes into the hospital, know what they're doing, even if they can't remember what they're doing, which sometimes can, sometimes they can't. And they're overwhelmed. Case managers are the greatest people in the world. They're overwhelmed right now. There's just so much going on. But know that, because I can't admit this person unless they have symptoms right now, or unless, listen to this, they have had symptoms and now they're beginning to escalate. Yeah, all day long I can do something with that. Well, what happened 2 weeks ago is not relative right now. You waited too long to call. I had a case manager call one day and she said, I'm concerned because I've got this patient, I really feel like they need to be in, but they don't have any symptoms. No, she didn't say that. She said they don't have a lot of behaviors. And so I'm great with this. I said, okay, but they've got to be doing something or you wouldn't be calling me. And she said, well, I just have a feel. It's just a feeling. Okay, well, feelings are important. Are you seeing any kind of different behaviors? And then we start trying to get that roadmap. We just couldn't find it. So I said, send me some progress notes. And she said, how much do you want? I said, I want a full week. She said, okay. So she sends me progress notes and I start reading those progress notes and I see that this woman in the last 2 days has been caught naked in the stairwell. There you go. That's her shit. Well, I know what she does say really crazy. Is it appropriate for her to be naked in the stairwell? No, ma'am. I tell you what, we can work with that. So be as detailed as you can be. Listen, for us, when we go to the doctor, we're not as detailed as we can be. We just think they all fix us. Well, they're the doctor. You know, the doctor. You ought to be able to know what to do to fix me. Well, I can't do anything unless I know what's going on. So that's where it is with physicians. Don't get mad at your nurse prac or your other kind of provider, your physician, because you didn't give them anything to go by. Don't make them ask you questions. That just prolongs the visit. Carry in a notebook with everything written down. Here's what's going on with me. Don't hold back. You can't hold back. You couldn't drive your car into your car service and say, something's going on. Because they're going to ask you, are there lights going off? Are there sounds making? Is it not starting? They didn't have to ask you that. Make that list. And for the people you care for, especially older people, you have to have that piece. What do they do? Okay, now here's a couple of things. I'm gonna skip around here. I'm not gonna get totally, but there's both the outpatient and the inpatient treatment for mental health. Outpatient treatment is always the best. Okay, so when you go into an outpatient program, you're going to come back out and hopefully you're going to be better. Inpatient means that you've reached a critical juncture, that the symptoms that you once had that might not be huge are now blooming, and that you must do something about it. It's like every tree in Memphis or in the Mid-South whose roots are heavily soaked with water. You think we've seen the damage? We've seen all the damage. Those trees are all going to fall. So if you're going down a Walnut Grove, for example, don't. There's so many trees down there. Those roots are saturated. They're going to fall. So give it a little bit, you know. It's very important to not get your roots soaked.
Very good analogy.
I don't know how else to say it. So inpatient is easier to get in than outpatient. And I know, and that's just terrible. You guys, we just don't have enough outpatient providers. And for those of you who look at a nurse practitioner and say, no, I want a real doctor, don't even go there. Nurse practitioners, especially when we're talking psych nurse practitioners, let me tell you, have been through it before they got there. They have worked psych, they have worked the floor, they understand it. And by the time you come to it, y'all, they're just like an internal medicine person with a psych background. They're the best. I love nurse practitioners. And I tell you that because if you go against that, okay, how long?
6 minutes.
6 minutes. Oh, we got tons of time. Good. Thank you, Lynn. I thought it said like 33 seconds. I was like, yeah, well, let me just face it down. So outpatient is a little bit more difficult to get in, but it's least intrusive. So if your person can go in an outpatient program, or you can, that's a good thing. In mental health, excuse me, lots of outpatient programs out there geared towards specialties as well. So Lakeside, Crestview, Delta, these are all my friends. So I'm Parkwood, I'm happy to share that. At Unity, we're only inpatient right now, but in the next 2 weeks, we're about to start an outpatient clinic. Why? Because we have people leaving and they do not stay on their medications. You got that? And let me just tell you, if you're dealing with somebody older, they may not remember their medicines, and medication issues are one of the top. There are 2 top reasons we see somebody. Urinary tract infection, which would have been an easy fix. Go drop some pee in a jar. They analyze it and say, whoop, you got some bacteria. Let's give you something to correct it. A lot of times that doesn't happen. Or 2, their medicines are so messed up. Older people many times go to multiple physicians, okay? And they get lots of medicine. And here's what they will tell you. And I sort of get this. I'm sort of old school, so I get this. They go, well, I take all that. It's prescribed. Poly drug abuse is a huge thing with the senior community, especially during and after COVID. Because now they've got all these bottles and they're trying to figure out what makes them better, what makes them worse. They've gone to all these doctors, or clinics. Nobody knows what the other person's prescribed. Why? No list. They go in without a list and say, yeah, I think it was something from a sugar. Oh, okay. It's not enough information. So outpatient is awesome. But again, know what is available outpatient. Just know that information. Inpatient. So when you reach a point that you, for example, might come to Unity. Now we've only got 17 beds. So a lot of times I have to, but that's okay. I work well with my competitors. We're all friends and we share that. So that's always good. But here's the thing about inpatient. It's a little bit scary for both you and the person you're giving care to, because it's a psych facility. However, if it's a medication issue, you probably don't have to go inpatient. Now, why would that be? Well, it's because somebody there, a provider there, the staff there has to watch you to see what's going on with your medicines and how they think they can alter those so that they're different. Maybe you're on the wrong medicine. Maybe you've been on the same medicine for the last 20 years. Let's talk about that for a minute. And I'll talk about it for you guys. If you've been on the same medicine for the last 15, 20 years and you hadn't had it checked out, you better. Because what worked for you 15 years ago doesn't work for you now. Your brain is different. Your body type is different. Everything is different. Look at what you're taking, because I see adults, young adults, I see people in this room all the time who literally just didn't need to be on the medicines they were on, or the medicines they were on just didn't work anymore. So now they think something critical's going on because they're having more and more and more anxiety when it's not really anything but a medication show. I can't tell you how important medicines are. And if you need them, you better get them. There is no great banner to wave saying, I don't need any medicines. You probably do. And if you don't right now, you will. So be open to that, but know what medicines do to each other. So if you're going into your primary care doctor and it's about you, you want to say, this is what I'm on. This is how I used to feel. Here's how I'm feeling right now. That's golden information. Okay. So inpatient's a little bit easier to access, but there are a lot of things to remember. And then I'm going to stop and go with this for a minute, because I think this is important stuff for you as we wrap up, begin to leave. Have your plan, know where the places are, know where you would like to go or like to the one you love if it comes to that, and know that before it happens. That's the first thing. Secondly, be tolerant of the staff of a hospital, no matter whether it's a psych hospital or a regular hospital, because they're all overworked, they're all overstaffed. And while you're important to them, they have 50 other people that are just as important. In our case, 16 other people are important. And psych care, one of the things we do is team meetings, and we all get together, discuss that, and then do family meetings with a family once a week, so that they can know what it is that we do. But y'all, it's hard to do that when you got 17 patients. So imagine some psych place that's even bigger. Be tolerant. Realize that there are rules for a reason. You may say, well, I want to visit every day. Well, here's the thing. We found out that for your person, it's not good for you to visit every day. And why do we know that? Because we see weird behaviors when you leave. And it may just be that they're scared because you brought some comfort and now you're gone again. So all those things make a difference, and very important for you to look at. And then, and I'm gonna end with this because I have to. This is very, very important. You better get a POA. You better have a power of attorney. If you don't have one for yourself, get it today. Get it today, because somebody's going to have to start making a decision. You're coming in to see me for psych, and you got some dementia. I can't get you to sign papers. I got to have power of attorney. And people still don't know that. And they're still struggling with that. Powers of attorney important. There are two kinds, health and regular. Have them both. Have them both. But you better have at least one of them. You want it anyway, because if something happens to you on the way home, somebody's going to be in a world of hurt if they're trying to navigate this system and probate and everything, and they don't have a power of attorney. Have them. Okay? All right. Lots of information. Look at my the
text, what to announce.
All right.